Hare Krishna, dear devotees, and welcome to. Just a second. And welcome to another lecture from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So maybe you would like to join me in exploring Chaitanya Charitamrita. So I'm reading this book. It's Adi Lila, the first part. And last time, actually, the first time we gave an introduction to Chaitanya Charitamrita, and last time we were speaking about the first chapter, Spiritual Masters, Part 1. And today we're going to talk about the same chapter as Part 2, because we only touched upon the topics of what is a spiritual master, why do we need a spiritual master. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is an author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's explaining very nicely why do we need their blessings and what importance spiritual master has in spiritual life. But before we start, it's always good to say prayers for making the atmosphere of talking about these topics auspicious. So before Chaitanya Charitamrita, we always sing the following prayer. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Rangunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So these nice prayers you can find in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita, and you can read the translation there if you don't know what it means. So last time, when we were talking about the topics of chapter 1, which is entitled Spiritual Masters, we were talking about, actually we announced it, that Krishna comes in 6 features. Actually, he enjoys in 6 features. And these features are spiritual masters, devotees, supreme lord, incarnations, manifestations or expansions, and eternal potencies. So from the 6 features, we only touched upon one, and that is spiritual masters. And also, while I speak, please, if you don't understand something, you can ask a question, you can write a comment. I would be very happy if you would, because it would be nice to have an interaction. And also, before each lecture, you can also read by yourself the whole chapter, and then also maybe you would like to add something that I can read for others. or you can ask a question. So last time we were talking about gurus and spiritual masters, and it was actually a very nice lecture because Srila Prabhupada emphasized the topic of spiritual masters at the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita, because it's very important for us to receive this knowledge from a bona fide source. And what does it mean, a bona fide source? It means that it has to be a person who has realized the knowledge. The person gained knowledge from his or her previous teacher, and by practicing this knowledge, the person experienced certain realizations which qualify her to be a spiritual master herself or himself. So, and also the books of Bhakti Yoga, they explain what are the qualifications of the spiritual master. And Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he just mentions some of them. And also he says that it is very important to note that the spiritual master is actually an incarnation of the Lord as well. So the Lord, when he manifests himself as a super soul in the heart of every living entity, and there also it manifests as a spiritual master. Why? Because it is described in the Bhagavad Gita that the super soul, which is within our hearts, and it is sitting next to us, Atma or soul, he's giving us intelligence, remembrance and forgetfulness about how to act in this world according to our activities and karma. And when we become a little bit spiritually inclined, this same super soul acts as a Chaita Guru, which means the Guru in the heart. So whoever worships Krishna, Krishna gives him the intelligence of how the person can come to me, can come to him actually. And it's very nice also to know that since it is impossible to perceive spirit with these material senses, and because we are not able to see the Lord, he manifests himself in a person of a spiritual master, who then helps us with his instructions to come to the Lord. So by the mercy of Krishna, we get the spiritual master, and by the mercy of the spiritual master, we get Krishna. That's how it actually goes. So the person who is very inquisitive or has some motive to approach God, God is very kind, and he sends his representative in the form of the spiritual master to give him or her instructions of how to realize, how us to realize who we are, how this material world is functioning, who is God, what is our relationship with him, and so on. So because Krishna manifests in the form of the spiritual master, and he also manifests in the heart, Krishna Das Kaviraj in the first chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he addresses 3 types of deities which are in Vrindavan. And actually the spiritual master manifests himself in these 3 types of deities. I will mention who they are and actually what they represent. These deities can be found in Vrindavan, and they were established by the Six Gosvamis. So the Six Gosvamis were saints and the followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, of which Chaitanya Charitamrita speaks about. And they were given instructions by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about how to perform devotional service in this age of Kali. And they were also empowered by him to establish the worship of him in the form of the deity. And these forms are worshipped actually today all over the world, but it all started in India. So these 3 main very important deities are called Madana Mohan, Govinda and Gopjana Vallabha. And it is said that Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, so these are the books that talk about the knowledge of Bhakti Yoga. And this knowledge of Bhakti Yoga has 3 levels. The first level of knowledge is Sambandha. the second level of knowledge which we receive through Krishna consciousness or practicing Bhakti Yoga is Avideya, and the third type of knowledge is Prayojana. So it is said that first, when we start with the process of Bhakti Yoga, we receive the knowledge of Sambandha. So what does that mean? That means that from persons who have experience from it, or persons who, or from the books, we receive the knowledge of who we are and what is our relationship with God, what is our relationship with this material world. But primarily, it is like we are receiving the knowledge about our relationship with God. And at that moment, when we are receiving this, and when we are at that stage, it is described in the scripture, something very nice, that Krishna manifests himself as a guru in our heart in the form of Madana Mohan. So I took some notes. So Madana Mohan is one of the names of Krishna, because Krishna has many names. Krishna means all attractive, and for instance, Madana Mohan is he who charms Cupid, the god of love. So according to his qualities or activities, Krishna is given many names. So therefore he's called Govinda, which means that he who pleases the senses and the cows, and Gopijana Vallabha, which means that he's a transcendental lover of the gopis. So I'm just mentioning this as a fact that Krishna has many names. So the deity of Madana Mohan, which means he who charms Cupid, the god of love. So Srila Prabhupada, when he was explaining the purports to many verses that we now have from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, he would say that the whole world is charmed by Cupid because everyone is attracted with opposite sex. So this attraction between the sexes is actually what makes the world go round in a way, because everything is moved by the sex desire. So this Cupid, which induces everyone with this attraction, he is controlled by Krishna. So this indicates the power of Krishna, the power of his attraction. So in order for us to establish a relationship with Krishna, we also have to be attracted by him. So he's in this stage of Sambandha, where we receive the knowledge of what is actually our relationship with him. We receive knowledge about him so that we can be attracted by him and little by little start to establish a relationship with him. So it is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that the worship of Madana Mohan is a worship on the platform of re-establishing our forgotten relationship with the personality of Godhead. So it is said, in the beginning of our spiritual life, we must therefore worship Madana Mohan so that he may attract us and nullify our attachment for material sense gratification. Srila Prabhupada also many times explained that you can only leave something that you are attracted with if you are attracted with something that pleases you more, that's something higher, for example, in this case. So if we, for instance, develop a taste for worshipping Krishna, it will be very easy for us to leave aside material attachments and sense gratification. And this is the phase in which Krishna is trying to actually attract us with giving us the spiritual master, with giving us knowledge about him, and trying to actually inspire our spiritual master to engage us in devotional service to him. So it is said that this relationship with Madana Mohan is necessary for neophyte devotees. So I found it very nice that actually the spiritual master, actually Krishna as a guru, manifests in this form in the heart of the devotee at the beginning. Then the next stage, which is Abhideya, which is higher, Guru manifests in the form, Krishna manifests in the form of a guru in the heart, in the form of Govinda. So we said that Govinda is he who pleases the senses and the cows. When one wishes to render service to the Lord with strong attachment, one worships Govinda on the platform of transcendental service. because Govinda is the reservoir of all pleasures. So since we said that Govinda is he who pleases the senses, so basically by rendering service to Krishna in that phase, we are no longer so much attracted to the material world, but we receive pleasure from performing devotional service to the Lord. Because it is explained in the scriptures that performing devotional service is like watering a tree. So when you water a tree at its roots, the whole tree is benefited. The branches, the leaves, the stem, everything. But if you pour the water on the leaves or the branches, then there is no benefit for the whole plant or whole tree and so on. So in that sense, if we serve Krishna, if we try to please the senses of Krishna, then he who pleases the senses, which is Govinda, he gives us pleasure automatically. And that's the magic of the spiritual world and the spiritual relationships and the spiritual reality, in which when the Lord is pleased, everyone else is pleased. So this is like a mystic part of Bhakti Yoga, which can only be realized by practice. So we can talk about it in theory as much as we want, but the point is that we have to do something. So usually people who are, or practitioners who are on the platform of Abhideya, they already follow the instructions of the spiritual master, because he's the one who is engaging them through these instructions into devotional service to Krishna. And that doesn't mean that you have to be like formally initiated, even though that would be very good, but it's like even following Srila Prabhupada, because you're following like the instructions of saints, which we can find in the books. And anyway, the spiritual masters, since they come from disciplic succession, which talk about the same things, they actually just repeat what the previous person has spoken. So they don't add, in essence, anything new. They can adjust things to time, place, and circumstances, but the essence of Bhakti Yoga will remain the same. And then there is the third stage, which is the most perfectional stage, in which a practitioner of Bhakti Yoga really realizes the true position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And at that moment, Krishna, as Chaita Guru in the heart, he manifests himself as Gopijana Vallabha. And we said that this means that he is the transcendental lover of the gopis. When by the grace of Krishna and the devotees one reaches perfection in devotional service, he can appreciate Krishna as Gopijana Vallabha, the pleasure deity of the damsels of Vraja. So this is like the highest stage that one can achieve. And we usually also pray to these deities, and this is something that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also did in this chapter 1 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's very nice prayer. So if you ever feel inspired, whether you are just a beginner on the path of Bhakti Yoga, or you're a practitioner of it for years and years, these are very nice prayers that we can actually recite to these deities, and I hope that I can find them. Just a second, because they're really beautiful. Yeah. So if you want to, the prayer for Madan Mohan is: Glory to the all-merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am a lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors, and their lotus feet are everything to me. And then the prayer for Govinda. In the temple of jewels in Vrindavan, underneath the desire tree, Shri Radha Govinda, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. And for Gopijana Vallabha, Shishila Gopinath, who originated the transcendental mellow of the rasa dance, stands on the shore in Vamshivat and attracts the attention of the cowherd damsels with the sound of his celebrated flute. may they all confer upon us their benediction. So if you would like a benediction of Krishna in these three forms, it is very nice to recite this prayer. So this was an addition to the first feature in which Krishna manifests, and that is the spiritual master. So now we're going to talk about the second feature in which Krishna enjoys his transcendental pastimes. And this second feature consists of devotees of the Lord. So when we worship the devotees, we actually also worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead through them, because they are so pure and dedicated to the Lord that they carry the Lord in their hearts. And once you practice Bhakti Yoga for a long time, then there are certain prayers and purifications that you do every day. So what we do every day is when we wake up, we take a shower, and then because we want to be clean before offering prayers to the Lord externally, and also by reciting these prayers and by chanting the Maha Mantra, we are purifying ourselves internally, and therefore we are trying to be externally and internally pure. So before actually chanting and after showering, we usually mark our bodies with tilak. And next time I will try to show some pictures for those who don't know, and I don't have tilak at the moment. It's usually on my forehead, but it's also marked on the belly, chest, neck, back and arms, and it's on the upper part of the body, and the prayers are recited while we do that. And actually this is a meditation and a contemplation that this body is actually the temple of God, because God is actually situated here in our heart. So we are here in our heart as soul that is pervading the whole body, and this symptom that the soul is in the body is manifested through consciousness. So just because we are conscious, we can understand that we are something different than this body, that we are a spirit soul. And in this heart, always with us, wherever we go, however many births we have in this material world, the super soul or Krishna will always follow us. So in that sense, when we practice Bhakti Yoga, we want to acknowledge that. We want to confirm that this body is not who we are, that this body is actually a temple of the Lord, and that we want to use it in the service of the Lord. So since devotees do that, they're considered as non-different from the Lord, and therefore they're considered the second feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Chaitanya Charitamrita describes the glories of the devotees. So only by association of devotees we can understand who God is and who we are, and only by association of devotees we can actually gain taste for devotional service, and we can actually understand what kind of relationship we have with the Lord. And when we understand what kind of relationship we have with the Lord, we will usually associate with people who have similar inclinations as we do. And then in such association of intimacy, respect and friendship, we will spiritually grow, and Krishna will become revealed to us. Because Krishna says that I am not in the Vaikuntha, I am not in the heart of the yogis, I am not here, I am not there. I am there where the devotees discuss my glories. So wherever you are, where you can hear that the devotees discuss the glories of Krishna, you can be sure that Krishna is manifest at that place. So this is the glory of the devotees. And also I mentioned in my lectures many times that when we talk about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when we talk about Lord Krishna, it's not like talking about, for example, me or some of your friends. When someone says Lila or Loka Pavani, they can only imagine me, but actually they don't imagine other people around me, because maybe they don't know, and they don't know how they're connected with me, or they just see your body in a way. But when we talk about Krishna, Krishna is always considered to include everything, and especially his devotees. Krishna is never alone. Krishna is always associated with his devotees. He always has a relationship with his devotees. He manifests himself in various forms, in many forms, in which he tries to establish these relationships with devotees and give pleasure to his devotees as the devotees give pleasure to him. Just a second. I have to turn my phone off. I forgot that. Okay. So Chaitanya Charitamrita says that one should avoid a bad company and associate only with devotees. With their realized instructions, saint cut off the attachments unfavorable for bhakti. So this is like the point of to always seek the association of devotees and try to not, when someone says don't hang out with non-devotees, then we say it's like, well, yeah, but why should we discriminate? Or, I don't know, why should we think bad about other people and only glorify the specific practitioners of Bhakti Yoga? But that's not the case here. That's not the point here. The point is that man is known by his or her company. Man or woman is known by his or her company. So if I associate with people who love to watch movies and go to the cinema all the time, then automatically I will love movies and go to the cinema with them after a while, because they will somehow infect me with their enthusiasm. In the same way, people who practice Bhakti Yoga, or people who practice spirituality, or who talk about truths that are a little bit higher, transcendental, they infect us with their enthusiasm. And that's the only way how we can actually gain knowledge and understand the topics of transcendence. And they will always talk about things that are favorable for bhakti. Other people who have no knowledge of it won't. And if we associate with people who have no knowledge about Bhakti Yoga, then we will just be more and more attached to this material world. But if our motivation and our intent is that we actually don't want to be born again, we want happiness, we want to understand spiritual life, we want to see the spiritual world, then we will associate with people who can give us that, not the ones who can actually chain us only even more. So that's the whole point, like why it is so important to be with the devotees, why it's important to associate with them. And also when we come to the association of devotees, we have so many conceptions in our heads of who these persons should be, how they should act, what kind of purified hearts they should have, that they should not have faults, that they should be perfect, because in the scriptures it is described that when someone is a devotee, he's practically perfect and pure. But in practice we see that that's not so much, because everyone has their own imperfection. And so I like the point that we need to learn how to associate with practitioners of Bhakti Yoga. That means that when we come in association with the practitioners of Bhakti Yoga, we try to glorify Krishna and serve. And only by doing that, we can actually protect ourselves from disappointments and many other negative things. And also, we need to understand that Srila Prabhupada and many other saints that came to this material world to purify this world, when they established their movements and when they gave us this literature, they actually established hospitals for us to get cured from the material contamination, to get purified and understand who we are and what our true qualities are. So also it's good to have an understanding that people are like suns which are covered by clouds, and these clouds are some negative qualities that they have, which are in Sanskrit called anarthas, or unwanted things in the heart, like envy, greed, lust, and so on. So every one of us has that. But in essence, in the constitutional position, that what we truly are, we are like suns. So the spirit souls are even more powerful than suns. They're blissfully shining spiritual entities which have actually 70 or 78, I think, percent of the qualities of God. So we're quite, in the essence, godly, but we're very small. God is very big, and He has 100% of all the godly qualities, so He's always better than us. But that's not the point here. The point is that we have good qualities, but when we must manifest the bad qualities, it's just the cloud which was created for I don't know how many millions and millions of lifetimes that we live in this material world. We don't remember what we did in our previous lives and how many samskaras or impressions about things and the way we should act we gathered through these lifetimes. And now we came here in this lifetime, and maybe some other lifetimes we also practice Bhakti Yoga, we don't know that, but I'm talking about now. And then we expect others to be perfect, but they're struggling with the same challenges as we do. Some are very successful in eliminating these challenges, but some are not. But yeah, it is said, I don't know, I think Srila Prabhupada said that if a person is taking a shower to become clean, don't tell him all the time that he's dirty if he's under the shower and he's trying to get clean. So these are some like indications for us that, yeah, we should try to see good in people and try to associate in a good way. And Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrita, which are like instructions on how to perform devotional service, he describes what are the 6 exchanges between the devotees by which we can establish very good relationships, loving relationships between ourselves. And one is to offer prasadam to people, so this sanctified food we offer to people, and that we receive this sanctified food from others. The third one is to give gifts to the devotees or spiritual practitioners, and the fourth one is to receive the gifts, and the fifth one is to open the mind, and the sixth one is to receive instructions from the person. So there is an interaction of love, and that's what we are trying to accomplish with glorification of the Lord. So that is how we should nourish our relationships with the devotees. And in Chaitanya Charitamrita it is described how Krishna Katha, which means Katha means speaking, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Krishna Katha, speaking about the Lord in the association of sadhus, is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and heart, and can give ruchi, ashakti, bhava, prema in sequence. Ruchi means taste, ashakti means attachment, bhava means a feeling, and prema means a really strong love towards the Lord. And yeah, we can get glimpses of how that is even now, even though maybe we never experienced something like that. But for instance, we are attracted to the person that has a taste for, I don't know, cooking, and we love how the person cooks. And then after a while we ask the person to teach us how to cook, and then we establish a taste for cooking, and then when we become attached to cooking, and then we have feelings toward the cooking, and then we become totally obsessed and we want to become a cook. This is just a simple example of how it works, but that's the power actually of the association. And if we have the devotees who have the taste and attachment for Krishna, who have emotions towards Krishna and the spiritual master, and in the end the persons who really have prema towards the Lord, then their enthusiasm will attract us, and we will become affected by it, and we will want to establish it. So that's why the association is so important. And this is where, so in this kind of association, this is a place where Krishna manifests himself in this material world. So if you want to see God, you need to have the eyes to see. And the scriptures are actually giving you the eyes to see. And one of the views of how to see God is to be in the association of devotees, sing kirtans and talk about Krishna, and then you will see that Krishna will become manifest in your heart. So whatever it's done in the spiritual life, it cannot be done through theory. It has to be experienced. So it's a practical thing. And then what is also described in Chaitanya Charitamrita is the tattva of the devotees. So what does tattva means? Tattva is also a Sanskrit word which means knowledge. So knowledge about something. So there is a tattva about God, so knowledge about God. So there is a tattva of the devotees, knowledge about devotees, like the philosophy of it. So it is said that pure devotees are identical with the Lord because He's always seated in their hearts. So this is something that is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in the example of Maharaja Ambarish. If you want to know about Maharaja Ambarish, you can read about him in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a story, I think I mentioned it already. So Maharaja Ambarish was a pure devotee of the Lord, and he used everything he had for the service of the Lord. He used his wealth for the service of the Lord and for deity worship. He would use his feet to go to the places of pilgrimage and to the temple of the Lord. He would use his eyes to look at the form of the Lord. He would use his ears to listen about the Lord. He would use his mouth to speak about the Lord and eat the remnants of prasadam and so on. So it is described how he was surrendered to Krishna. And one day he was fasting and he didn't properly welcome a great sage, the Rasa Muni. I'm not going to go into details, you can read about the story in Srimad Bhagavatam, but because he didn't properly welcome the great Muni or yogi, great yogi, the Rasa Muni got insulted because of the behavior of Maharaja Ambarish. But Maharaja Ambarish actually didn't do anything wrong. And the Rasa Muni, he was known to get angry very quickly. And when he would get angry, he would usually curse people. In this case, because he was angry at Maharaja Ambarish, he created a fiery demon and he sent this fiery demon to attack Maharaja Ambarish. And Maharaja Ambarish was so surrendered to the Lord that he didn't even want to defend himself. He didn't do anything to stop the fiery demon. He didn't do anything to, to stop the whole situation that was happening. And because the Lord is the protector of his devotees, automatically, because of the surrender of Lord Ambarish, he sent his Sudarshan Chakra to protect Maharaj Ambarish. And the Sudarshan Chakra killed the fiery demon, and when it was done with killing the demon, it turned and started to chase the Rasa Muni. And the Rasa Muni was totally in shock, and he started to run around the whole universe, and he wanted to take shelter of first of Lord Brahma, who is the creator of the universe. But Lord Brahma told him, I'm sorry, I cannot help you, maybe Lord Shiva can help you, you can approach him. He went to Lord Shiva, but Lord Shiva again could not protect him because he said he's not even the owner of Sudarshan Chakra, so maybe Lord Vishnu can help him. And then the Rasa Muni went to Lord Vishnu and explained his case, and he told him, I really need your protection, it is your Sudarshan Chakra, you should stop it. And then Lord Vishnu says, I'm sorry, I cannot stop it, I have no power. And then the Rasa Muni said, what kind of a personality are you? Don't you have a heart? I just came to you to seek your protection, and you're not doing anything to protect me. What kind of a person are you? Where is your heart? And then Lord Vishnu starts to speak very nicely, saying that he actually doesn't have a heart, because his heart is his heart belongs to his devotees, and the devotee's heart belongs to him. So if he wants something, and if he's searching for him, he should actually approach the devotees, ask for forgiveness, and then everything will be resolved, because he has no power. He's totally in the ownership of a devotee, and he will just do whatever the devotee says. So you go to him because you offended him. And that's what Rasa Muni did. He approached Maharaja Ambarish, and Maharaja Ambarish, because he was a very soft-hearted person, he of course, he didn't even got offended. He said that he has nothing to forgive. So this is like the greatness of the devotees, and actually how Krishna feels about his devotees. So therefore it is said that he's always seated in their hearts. So whenever you are in the presence of a pure devotee, you can be sure that you are also in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is situated in their hearts. And it is also explained in Srimad Bhagavatam in one nice dialogue between Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was also a great king at the time when Lord Krishna was on this planet. He was glorifying Vidura, who was his uncle and who was also a pure devotee of the Lord. And he said that saints are themselves places of pilgrimage. Because of their purity, they are constant companions of the Lord, and then they can purify even the places of pilgrimage. So I forgot in which book that was described, but the holy rivers, they wanted to, in a way, escape the surface of the earth, and they didn't want to be present there, because they said to the Lord, like, why should we be present there? Because there will be so many sinful people in the age of Kali, and all of them will try to come and bathe in our rivers, and we will just become so contaminated. We will not be able to purify everything, because there will be so many people with so many sins and bad energies and so on. And then Lord Krishna said that they should not worry, because the pure devotees, so in that time, in that age, pure devotees will also take bath in their waters, and they will actually purify those rivers and purify all these bad energies that were brought by sinful people to these holy rivers. So this is the power of a devotee, and why we should seek their association. Then Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that there are two types of pure devotees. There are parishas, and these are personal associates or perfect servitors, and sadhakas, which are neophyte devotees endeavoring for perfection. So these personal associates, these perfect servitors, or parishats, so they come to this world when Lord Krishna incarnates. They are his entourage. He always, as I said, Krishna, when he comes, wherever he comes, he never comes alone. So when he incarnates on this earth, he comes with his mother, he comes with his father, he comes with his brother, he comes with his friends, he comes with the gopis and other elderly members of the village. So he has everything, friends, ministers, this servants, that servants, he has pets. So they all come. And they always accompany him from universe to universe. So when the story ends in one universe, automatically the story begins in another universe. So these Krishna's Lilas in the material world, they happen through eternity. So they're happening all the time. And wherever Krishna comes, his perfect servitors comes. But also in this material world, there are also devotees of the Lord which are not perfect. Which did not descend from the spiritual world, but which are conditioned souls, and by the mercy of Krishna and by the mercy of the spiritual master, they are given the process to practice Bhakti Yoga so that they can become perfect. And this kind of devotees are called sadhakas. So all of us who are practicing spiritual life, who are practicing Bhakti Yoga, are actually called sadhakas, and this word comes from the word sadhana, which means spiritual practice. So sadhana is something that is given by a saint or a spiritual master that you perform every day for your internal purification. And for example, in Bhakti Yoga, we follow the 4 regulative principles, and we chant 16 rounds daily and some other mantras, and also we like to chant the whole day. But these are some of the practices we do. We serve the devotees, we serve the deities. So these are some spiritual practices that are described in the books that are recommended by the great saints, and sadhakas, they do them. And by doing this, they will become perfect one day. So these are 2 types. And in this first type, which are called parishats, or perfect servitors, who don't have to, they're always perfect, they don't have to go through this whole process. There are two kinds. And the first kind is the ones who are attracted by the opulences of the Lord. And these are the servitors or spirit souls who are in Vaikuntha planets. So in Vaikuntha planet, Lord, in Vaikuntha planets, because there are many Vaikunthas in the spiritual world. Vaikuntha means a planet where there is no anxiety. So there's no anxiety in the spiritual world. So on these planets, there are various manifestations of and incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, where he's worshipped as a king. So these devotees were actually attracted by the opulences of the Lord, and therefore they wanted this relationship with the Lord, and they therefore are devotees who live in Vaikuntha planets. And the second type is the ones who are attracted by nuptial love of Godhead. So these are the ones who want to have a more intimate relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the sense that they don't even want to know that Krishna is God. They just want to treat him as a friend, an equal, or as a lover, or as a child. And these relationships are manifested in the highest planet in the spiritual world, which is called Krishna Loka. So in Vaikunthas, the devotees, they know that Krishna is Krishna, and they want to worship him with awe and reverence. They like it that way, and they want to be amazed by his opulence, strength, power, and so on. But in Krishna Loka, in Gokul, they don't want to. They don't know that he's Krishna. He's just like their favorite person in the world, and they feel attracted to him, and then they treat him according to the taste that they have. So that's quite beautiful. So this is something that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions about the second feature in which the Lord enjoys his pastimes. The third feature in which the Lord enjoys his pastimes in this material world are avatars, or incarnations of the Lord. And there are three mentioned. First are Amsha avatars, or partial incarnations. So if you ever read Srimad Bhagavatam or partially Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned in some purpose that there are various incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the creation of this material world, the Lord he's laid in the Karana ocean as Karanakashayi Vishnu, and through the pores of his body, when he breathes out, exhales, the material universe is manifest. And when he inhales, the material universes, they just become merged into his body. So this is Karanakashayi Vishnu. And when the creation takes place, so the creation of the material world, so he exhales, and then the universes are manifested. And then in each and every universe, Krishna enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And again he lays down on Garbhodaka ocean, where Brahma manifests out of his navel. There comes a lotus flower, and then the Brahma manifests, and the Brahma, in meditation upon the Lord, a Lord receives the knowledge about the creation of the material world, and he creates, by the mercy of the Lord, the whole material universe. And then the Lord manifests in the third feature, which is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, or the super soul, which means that in whatever Lord Brahma creates in this material world, the Lord enters into it. He enters into atoms like a super soul, but he also enters in each and every body that Lord Brahma created. So he's in me, he's in you, he's in the animals, he's in the trees, so he's everywhere. So that's the feature of Kshirodakashayi Vishnu. So there are many other incarnations. And then Krishna manifests as Lila avatars. If you want to know which are the Lila avatars of the Lord, it can also be read in Srimad Bhagavatam, but these are, for example, Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Lord Ramachandra, and so on. And if you want to know the details about them, you can also explore a little bit about by yourself. The second type of these avatars are Guna Avatars. So this material world, when it is created out of the three gunas of material nature. And if you ever read Bhagavad Gita, then you know that the three gunas of material nature are the guna of ignorance, or tamaguna, the mode of passion, or rajaguna, and the mode of virtue, or sattva guna, or goodness, virtue or goodness, or sattva guna. So each guna has its own deity. So Krishna manifests in all these three deities. He manifests as Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. So Brahma is a Guna avatar of the mode of passion. Shiva is the avatar of mode of ignorance, and Lord Vishnu is the avatar of mode of sattva or goodness. And then we have Shakyavesha avatars, which are like empowered personalities. So Krishna manifests himself in the empowered personalities who have some mission to accomplish in this material world. So this is also one type in which he manifests himself. So he's just, Krishna's coverage with Swami, he's just actually giving us a glimpse in the wealth of the Lord and his opulences and various ways in which he enjoys, so that you can see how actually God, Krishna, is such a complex personality, and how he loves to enjoy, and how there are so many various ways in which he enjoys, and he manifests himself practically in everything. But he's always like the one person, and that's like the mysticism of Bhakti Yoga as well. It's kind of like, some devotees call it like Krishna magic, the way Krishna acts in this material and spiritual worlds. Okay, so the fourth feature of how the Lord enjoys in this material world is by his expansions. So there are two types of expansions. So now, I know it's a little bit confusing. Now you have incarnations and now you have expansions. So they're a little bit different. So expansions are two of a kind. First ones are called Prakasha, and the second ones are called Vilasa. So I'm just mentioning this just for the sake of knowing it. Like, maybe you will never remember it, but maybe you will just, when you hear it one more time somewhere, you will know that it came from somewhere. So it's not, you can get acquainted with these terms a little bit. So there's always like, when the saints explain like the qualities of Krishna, or what he does, or how he manifests, or what are his features, how he enjoys, they always give like evidence of it from some Lila that he performed in this universes. And these Lilas can be found and can be read about in Srimad Bhagavatam and various Puranas as well. So these Prakasha expansions is when the Lord expands himself in many forms, and all these forms, so you have one Krishna, so, and he expands in many Krishnas, and they're all non-different in their feature, which means that they look the same. So it's like Krishna, I don't know, you can imagine some picture of Krishna and then multiply the picture. So that means Prakasha. And the example is given. So the example is when Lord Krishna married 16,000 queens. So this story can be found in Krishna book or Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, when Lord Krishna saved 16,000 queens and married all of them. And in total, when Krishna was manifested here in the material world, he had 16,108 queens, and he lived in 16,108 palaces, and with each queen he had 10 children. And this is something that was observed by Narada Muni when he came to visit him in Dwarka, and he would come to one palace and then he would see Krishna, so the same Krishna, playing with his children. And then in the next palace he would see Krishna performing his morning prayers. And then in the next palace, he would see Krishna, I don't know, talking with some guests. So in each palace, he would see Krishna doing something else. And then after Krishna was done, Narada Muni would see that each of these Krishnas was leaving the 16,108 palaces. And so all these manifestations, expansions of Krishna were coming out of all of these palaces, and he was actually going to the assembly where he was to perform his duties as administrator of Dwarka. So Narada Muni would see how all these 16,108 features of Krishna would manifest in one person that would then enter into the assembly. So this is the opulence of the Lord. Only he can do that. And that's why that he performs this kind of pastimes actually, so that he can prove to the world that actually he is God, and that you don't consider him as an ordinary human being, even though he has human-like features. So these are his Lilas. And this is also very attractive to people because they're amazed by these things. And we cannot say that we are not amazed, because there are so many movies, for example, where we imagine this or imagine that, or I don't know, create what, I don't know what kind of characters that they have, I don't know what kind of powers. So all the kids are so attracted to having powers, having this, having that. So it's an attractive feature, and therefore Krishna also exhibits this to attract us so that we can establish a relationship with him. Another time when he exhibited this Prakasha expansion was in the Rasa dance, when he was dancing with the gopis. So it was only one Krishna, and then all the gopis came, and then Krishna started the Rasa dance, and all the gopis, they had a feeling like Krishna was dancing only with them. And what happened is that Krishna just expanded himself. And there is a beautiful description, like this dance was like observing a beautiful shining pearl necklace. So all the pearls, they looked like shining gopis with Krishna who were dancing. And then in the middle of the necklace, there was a gem which represented Radharani and Krishna, who were also dancing. So like this was like the beauty of the Rasa dance. And this is also an example of the Prakasha expansion that Lord Krishna manifests, and also talks about his opulence, and also talks about how if we establish a relationship with the Lord, then there is no loss. Because, you know, if we want to establish a relationship with a friend, not some person in the world, he cannot be friends with everyone in this world. It's not possible. Even like time will not allow the person to become friends with everyone. But if you become friends with Krishna, he can become friends with everyone, because he can expand himself. And no one can feel the lack. It's not like, oh, he's now speaking to that person and it's not speaking to me. He will speak to you and that person simultaneously. So that's the glory of the Lord, and that's his his attraction. And that's why we feel the most perfect in this kind of relationships, because actually the Lord fulfills our desires. Whatever relationship we want with him in our pure state, he like gives himself to his devotees. And that's the beauty of Krishna. And that's why it's so valuable to have this knowledge, and it's so valuable actually to practice Bhakti Yoga and to gain these realizations, which might not be perfect, but I think that every practitioner of Bhakti Yoga, whether he's at the beginning or somewhere in the middle or in the end, can say that there is an interaction, that there is a reciprocation with the Lord. Maybe not visible in the sense like other people want things to be visible, but they know that there is an interaction and reciprocation with the Lord. So that's his beauty, and that's how he enjoys also this world. He said in the Canto 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam that he doesn't want to enjoy his opulences, and he has many, without sharing it with his devotees. So that's his joy, and that's one of the reasons why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is actually the main star of Chaitanya Charitamrita, came to this world. He wanted to like show people the secret of transcendence. He wanted to show them how you can actually please the Lord the most. And that is, if you share this knowledge with others, and if you somehow inspire others to also practice this path, because it will bring good to them, and it will make the Lord happy, and it will make these people happy. They think that they are happy, but actually they are not happy, because nothing is permanent in this world. Everything is temporary. Whatever you have in this world, you will lose. And you will just forget about it and get born again. And then here we go again, the same story with the suffering and so on. And some people might say that they're happy, and maybe they are happy at this moment, but who knows what is behind the corner. And also, this is not negativity, but this is the reality of the material life. Okay, so then, and second expansion. So second expansion is vilasa vigrahas. So when numerous forms are slightly different from one another. So, for example, in Vaikuntha Loka, we said that the Lord manifests there in Vaikuntha Lokas. But in each Vaikuntha Loka, there is a different form of the Lord. So he's not the same. So now we didn't take one picture of Krishna that we imagined in our heads and we didn't multiply it. We have Lord Narayan, Lord Vishnu, then we have Matsya, then we have Varaha, then we have Lord Narasimha. So these are all some of the forms of the Lord which are manifested in the Vaikuntha Lokas. So it's the same Lord, but it's slightly different. It's not the same. So yeah, so this is an example of it. Not in each Vaikuntha planet the Lord is the same. Every Vaikuntha planet has its own form that attracted the devotees, that they want to worship this form. And because, for instance, the Lord manifests himself also in the forms of animals, because everything comes from him. So therefore all the forms that we have in the material world, which are, the forms of animals, they all came from him. So therefore, if everything comes from him, then it cannot be amazing or shocking that he can have such a form in the spiritual world. So Matsya is a fish form of the Lord. So according to how the Lord manifests, his devotees also manifest. So this is like the mysticism and the beauty of the spiritual world, because there are no limitations, and everything is alive in the spiritual world. Even everything. Here we have animate and inanimate objects, and inanimate objects are usually dead matter, but in the spiritual world it's different. There everything is alive, there everything has a relationship with the Lord, and everything serves the Lord in a perfect way, the way they always wanted to serve the Lord. So there is no higher or lower status. Everyone is happy with whatever they are doing at that moment, and that's the beauty of the spiritual world. So let us continue, because now it's 8 o'clock. Maybe this lecture will be a little bit longer, but I would like to finish this. So the fifth feature in which the Lord manifests himself, in which he enjoys in the spiritual world and in the material world, are Shakti potencies. Shakti means energy, so the energies of the Lord. And there are three kinds. It says the Lakshmi is in Vaikuntha. Lakshmi is a goddess of fortune, and the goddess of fortune is considered to be the wife of Lord Vishnu in Vaikunthas. And she is serving the Lord in awe and reverence, massaging his feet and serving in the Vaikuntha planets, and she has a specific relationship with him. More intimate relationship is found in the second feature of Shakti potencies, which are the queens in Dwarka, because they are wives of Lord Krishna, and they have the more intimate relationship with the Lord. And the third feature of Shakti potency is found in Vrindavan, in the form of the gopis, who have even more intimate relationship with him, and manifestation of feelings, like they would give everything to Krishna, and they don't see him as God, as we said. So these are like some gradations of Shakti potencies, and through these potencies the Lord also enjoys. Because when we talk about Radha and Krishna is actually one personality who manifested himself in two because he wanted to enjoy. So Krishna manifested himself as Krishna and Radharani. And then again, he united, Radharani and Krishna united themselves in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when we see him, when we talk about him, we are actually talking about Radharani and Krishna together. So the conclusion of all these associates which are mentioned, whether we are talking about Shakti potencies, whether we are talking about personal associates of the Lord, or whether we are talking about the devotees of the Lord, the conclusion is that the personal associates of the primeval Lord, Sri Krishna, are his devotees who are identical with him. He is complete with his entourage of devotees. So in a way it's comforting, because we are also parts and parcels of Krishna. So we are eternally connected. We just forgot about it. And all we have to do is revive our consciousness, our awareness of this connection. And that's how we will be happy. Because Krishna also cannot be happy, fully happy, if he doesn't enjoy with everyone. Because everyone is part of him. So that's also the beauty of Bhakti Yoga, the beauty of spirituality, to understand this and live your life in that understanding. So the sixth feature, so the last feature that this chapter talks about, is the feature of Supreme Lord himself. So means Krishna, because Krishna is person, he manifests in many, but he still remains this one person. These are just his energies that are expanded in different ways, because he has so much power and so much potencies, that work in many ways that were described until now. So the Supreme Lord, so this feature of the Lord, like the origin, the cause of everything, the one. This is actually the objective and substance of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It talks about the Supreme Lord and everything else. Because, as I said, when we talk about the Supreme Lord, we include everything we talked about until now. So there is no separation. It doesn't exist. Everything is connected with the Lord. So the Lord, Supreme Lord, is known as Bhagavan. And this is also a Sanskrit word, which is used very often, and which means the one who possesses 6 opulences. And in Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of Lord incarnations. And we also mentioned some of them. We were talking about avatar incarnations, like Karanakashay Vishnu, Garbhadakashay Vishnu, Matsya Kurma, Guna Avatars, Satyavesha Avatars, and then Baladeva, Narayana, as Vilasa Vigraha expansions of the Lord. So I know there are so many fancy names now here spoken, but the point is that there's so many things mentioned. The expansion of this, the incarnation of that, this name, that name. Satyavesha Avatar, he's a what did we say, that he's an empowered personality who acts in the name of the Lord to perform certain mission in the material world. So everything of this, what I said now, is mentioned in the scripture. But there is one verse that says that Krishna is the origin of all of them. So that's very, very important, especially if you're coming from India, where there is prominent worship of the demigods. So they worship Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Vishnu, Durga. So the point of the Shastras is to say that the origin of everything is Krishna. And there's a verse that speaks about it. And this verse is the essence of our philosophy, because God is one and everything else manifests from it. And this one Lord, which is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam as Krishna's to Bhagavan Swayam, so he's the origin of everything that we mentioned so far, that Lord Krishna is actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that's very important, basis for Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami just mentions it now here in the first chapter. He will elaborate on it more fully in the second chapter, like why is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he says that Lord Chaitanya is the bestower of the highest mellows of bhakti, mellow of conjugal love. So when he talks about, he says this is Lord Krishna. And he's only different from our Lord Krishna as we know him, the blackish one playing the flute. just because he had some reasons why he wanted to appear in this world. So he realized that he gave instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, and he said, just surrender unto me, abandon all varieties of these dharmas, these religions, whatever I have mentioned so far, whatever ways of life you know, just abandon that and surrender unto me. Just think about me, like think of me, always worship me, become my devotee, and by doing this you will come to me. Do it, like just surrender. But then he realized that it's not very easy to surrender to Krishna, and that we always need an example to show us how to surrender to Krishna. So that's why he came in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so that he can show us what it is like to surrender to the Lord. And because Kali Yuga is the age where people are always disturbed, bombarded with I don't know how many useless information. Their minds are always disturbed, they're always anxious, they're always agitated by something. They're always in problems. I mean, even if you like open the news, like there's war here, there's war there, there was a pandemic, now they forgot about pandemic, now they're talking about this, now they're talking about that. And then people when they see this news, they're in shock, like, oh my God, how can this happen? I mean, hello, just look at the history. Even if you like read the newspapers a year ago, 2 years ago, everything is the same. Nothing changed in the newspaper. It's like just an agitation for the mind, like chewing the chewed all the time, chewing the chewed, like the wars. Like United, I'm a lawyer, so I speak from this perspective because I finished international law. In 1945, they established the United Nations, and then they, in the UN Charter, they forbade the proclamation of war. And therefore, everyone from 1945 till today was afraid to say that they are in war. Just because if they did that, then you would be held responsible according to the UN Charter. But the point is that we all know that from 1945 until today there were so many wars. So like it's just like illusioning ourselves again. Like this is the reality. Like constant problems in this age. Like even if you want to, I don't know, to enjoy, you cannot enjoy because you have all this industry and so-called better quality of life than 100 or 200 years ago, but you polluted the earth and you cannot enjoy anyway. So this is how this world works. The point is we are always disturbed, and because of that our intelligence is not very good. We don't remember very much things. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he knew it was going to be hard, so he was very generous. So he came to give the highest because he knew how all people will get it. No, he was just merciful. I'm just saying because we're not intelligent. And then he said, like, I'm giving you the easiest process. Like, just chant Hare Krishna and everything, you will gain everything by chanting this. So we don't have to know anything, actually, what I spoke about now. I mean, it's good to know, but all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna with full faith and clean your heart and clean your mind. And therefore you will understand that you're a spirit soul, that you have a connection with the Lord, and which is eternal, and one day you will come to him, hopefully soon. So that was the external reason, like he wanted to be merciful towards us and give us all this, so that's why he appeared. But the internal reason, but Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says this is the prime reason actually why he appeared. Because, you know, God is God, he wants to enjoy, so he actually appeared, of course, to benefit us. We are important because we're part of him, but also he wanted to enjoy. So there are 3 reasons why he appeared in this world, and they're connected to Srimati Radharani. So the first reason is to understand the glory of Srimati Radharani's love. So Srimati Radharani, she's considered the best devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because she's so surrendered, she's so full of love for him. She would give like anything for him, like she's the best, and she pleases him the most. So the only thing he never experienced is how does it look when she worships him. So he wanted to understand how it is to worship himself. So sometimes this can be a little bit confusing, but that's what the Lord is. Like he wanted to play in this way. So that was one reason. The second reason was to understand the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love. So he wanted to understand himself. and he appeared at Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He wanted to see what kind of qualities he has and how he can relish himself. The third reason is that he wanted to realize the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. So again, he wanted to see what kind of love he manifests towards Srimati Radharani, and he wanted to see what she feels. So this was a play of Krishna, his internal reason why he manifested in this world. But with this play, he gave a lot of mercy to everyone. So whatever he wanted to relish and show, he also gave to others to have the same opportunity to establish a relationship with the Lord, to serve him, and to relish these emotions that he will relish. Yeah. So I guess I'll have to stop here. Next time we will just talk about, or maybe 5 minutes that I finish this. Anyway, so because then we can go to the second chapter. What Krishnadas Kaviraj mentions here is like that, okay, this is Krishna, he manifested as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he gives glories of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. What does it mean for the world that actually they manifested here? So it's very beautiful, because you can, for instance, imagine one metaphor. He says that the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has arisen from the womb of his mother, Sachimata, just as the moon arises from the sea. Like it starts to rise. But you can imagine the picture of darkness, like you were at the sea and it's dark and the sun has just come down, and then you see the full moon rising. So that's how it's beautiful. Like this moon brings light and light and vision to the world when it manifests in this way. So in that sense, it was described how, in a metaphor, how it was when Lord Chaitanya manifested in this world. But then he's also described as sun, because sun also enlightens, gives vision and gives power, and he's also golden, so he's very much compared to the sun. And Lord Nityananda, who is his brother and his partner in distributing the love of Godhead, he manifested himself as moon. So the sun gives vision, gives knowledge, and the moon is cooling us. This cooling actually means the elimination of the distress. So when we are very, very hot and we are under distress of the heat, then when something cool comes to us, we feel relief. So in the same way, when Nityananda came to this world, he had this manifestation as a moon to give the relief to the world. So in this way, through the light that they gave, this is a metaphor, but they did give the light through the knowledge, they dissipated the darkness of ignorance. And this darkness of ignorance means, we think we are these conditioned souls and we don't know anything higher. So they came here to enlighten us. They wanted to protect us from cheating religions. And I mean, if you want to know what is a cheating religion, it is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 1, Chapter 1, Verse 2, where it talks about what that is. And that's actually anything that gives us sense gratification, that talks about liberation, that talks about performing duties in this world, and one more and talks about how to fulfill your desires. Anyway, but these are all cheating religions, because behind them there is some kind of material motive. So when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Mahaprabhu, when they came, they wanted to protect us from that. They wanted to show us what is real, like what is real religion, and how this liberation that people are talking about, this nirvana thing, this is nothing. I mean, it's wonderful. I was thinking about it today. I mean, how would it feel to be liberated? Because I would know that I'm not this body and not this mind, so definitely this agitation would come off. So I would be like in this peace. But that's not the real happiness. The real happiness is knowing that we are these spirit souls, we're not this body, but we need ananda, bliss. So we need relationships. And this is what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu came to give us. How to establish a relationship with God where we can have this bliss. So they came to give us the highest form of religion, reinstatement of the living entity in his original position of transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is what we are. We are loving beings who want to serve out of love the Lord. And when we talk about the Lord, again, it's not only one person, it's everything. So everything is connected. So Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they dissipate the darkness of the heart and help one. They help us meet the two kinds of Bhagavatas, a book Bhagavata and a person Bhagavata. Person Bhagavata means the spiritual master, and the book Bhagavata means the scriptures. So these two help us to understand what we are. But the most important thing that they came to give is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Because without chanting, we cannot understand the person Bhagavata or the book Bhagavata. So the chanting is clearing our heart, clearing our consciousness, and through that we understand who we are. This mirror in the heart gets cleansed and it reflects Krishna, and Krishna gives intelligence, and that's how we come back to our original condition. And what is very nice whenever we read scriptures is Palashruti section of the chapter, where we are given blessings for what we heard now, because it will give us some benefit. And yes, we can say it's materially motivated, but I think it's always good to get blessings. So I also wanted to mention that. It is said that the most important thing, the most important organ that we have in our body is the ear, so the hearing. So by submissively hearing Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, so please hear Chaitanya Charitamrita, one will be freed from all faults of ignorance, which means we will be enlightened, because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu only give real knowledge. We will achieve deep love for Krishna, because by hearing Chaitanya Charitamrita in the association of the devotees, we're also associating with the saints who are talking about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and automatically we're associating with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda Prabhu. And because they all have deep love for Krishna, they can help us develop this deep love for Krishna. The third benediction is that we will attain satisfaction, and when we gain satisfaction, that is a path to peace. So the satisfaction will be given to us by hearing this topic and by establishing a relationship with God. And the fourth one, that we will learn the essence of the absolute truth. So this book will give us knowledge. So the inconceivable character of Lord Krishna can only be understood by devotees who strictly following the footsteps of the Six Gosvamis. So these saints who have explained absolutely everything. And you know, once I read this post on Facebook which said, like, what is the difference between the practitioner of, I don't know, Christianity and the practitioner of the path of Bhakti? And my answer is knowledge, because yeah, there's so much knowledge in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam that can help us understand actually who God is. And more informations we have, the more easier it is for us to establish relationship with the Lord. So thank you for your attention, and I guess there's no questions, which is okay. If you have questions, you can always write here and ask. I can answer them later if you like to. And next time we will start with Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 2, which talks about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, in detail, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami will explain why Lord Chaitanya is actually Krishna, and he will give evidence. And this evidence is important, and we will also understand why. So thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai, which means all glories to him, and Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, because without him we wouldn't be able to read these books. Hare Krishna.